Dr. Peter Weller. How are you, sir? Thank you for taking the time for doing this.
Yeah, pleasure.
Great pleasure for me as well. And I wanted to talk about obviously your new film Bang first and foremost because it seemed like a very comfortable day on set for you. You were surrounded by antiquities, you're smoking cigars, you're quoting Nero. Your frequent collaborator and friend Peter Lenkov co-wrote this. Did he have you in mind for this role?
He did. He asked me to do it, and I was pleasure to do it. I dig Peter a lot, and we have an ongoing friendship and mutual admiration society. And subsequently, and I think he's a terrific writer, and he definitely knows drama how to arc drama. And there are many, many writers of film and television whom I wish would take a course in Aristotle about, what the three-part system is, or go to Bob McKee's story analysis thing, because there's a lot of times you go like, hey, okay, this doesn't have a third act. Okay, this doesn't have a second act. Doesn't have a build. Doesn't have a climax. It's just it's roly-poly. But Peter knows this stuff. And subsequently, of the things that even the episodes that he wrote himself or supervised in Hawaii Five-0, he knows how to like arc the damn story, man. And this is like great for an actor because you can build it
Yeah.
and you can die, and you know where the high points and low points are. You know when to like load up the shotgun, the emotional shotgun.
Yeah, well put. I love one of the quotes in the film about what Nero had said to Seneca that if you want to retire, go kill yourself. It kind of seemed great line. It seemed like that another line that he wrote specifically for you because you're such a busy man. You never stop. You got your PhD. I think you're celebrating 11 years now. Congratulations on that.
That's all right. They're very much right this month. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
amazing.
Or last month.
So, I mean, do you show any signs of slowing down or retirement, or do you kind of agree with what
No,
you're?
Mike Johnson, I got a book out with Cambridge University Press, and I'm going to send the link and the whole thing for Cambridge University Press, not to shamelessly, as Beatrice Reel, the editor-in-chief of Cambridge in New York, says, Peter, you have to hype and heighten your own book. I said, how? She said, shamelessly. Everywhere you go, you have to tell everyone you know about it. And so it's a new book on Renaissance, a lot of pictures and so forth. Very controversial about a Renaissance guy who many people thought just came to Florence and wrote the first modern book on painting. I say, no, he didn't. He saw a lot of other stuff before he ever wrote that book. And so I walk you through the Renaissance. And so, no, I don't stop, man. I don't stop. I just got asked to do another wonderful film and with David Fincher and Quentin Tarantino, and there's no name to it, but
Wow.
I'm in it. And so there you go.
Fantastic. Well, it's amazing. I do want to talk about your thesis in Alberti a little bit later on, but when we were
Oh,
talking,
Alberti, you know it is, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Alberti. Okay.
Well, the funny thing
Mike, you
is,
did your homework, man, because a lot of times just don't say the name. I just say the guy.
yeah, yeah. Well, the funny thing is, when I'm not doing this entertainment journalism thing, I, like yourself, am an arts educator. I teach at the high school level, but I teach visual arts. So when I
You're
knew,
kidding me.
yeah, when I found out what your thesis was on, it was stuff that I actually teach my grade nines and my grade 11s as well about humanism and things like that, and try to give them the kind of basic version, trying to make sure I, keep them interested for the next year so they come back. But well, let's jump into that because what I love about and kind of reading your thesis, I don't know how much of it I understood, quite frankly, but you're talking about humanism, you're talking about the cultural heritage and literary legacy, moral philosophy of kind of Greco-Roman civilization. That's kind of in a nutshell what humanism is.
Damn, you're on the game, man.
Well, I'm curious about that because being an interdisciplinary artist, I'm curious, do you find there would be the equivalent within film? Is there required literacy that you would consider kind of the Greco-Roman version of cinema?
Yes, look, I'm going to offer you this in one of your classes if you ever want to Zoom it. I teach a seminar called um, Antiquity to Modern Film.
Oh, that's amazing,
And the answer is in images.
right?
I mean, images. The thing that we all have in common is that the Western civilization, since I think the classical age of Greece, I mean, it started before that, of course, with Egypt and a lot of places on the Mediterranean, but essentially the Mediterranean is the foundation.
I wanted to talk about the relationship that you have with specific filmmakers, not just Lenkov, but of course, when you did Naked Lunch. There's one of our native sons right there in Cronenberg. And if I were to ever pursue my PhD, it would probably be in cinema studies. And I specifically always love talking about Canadian identity within science fiction. And it's interesting because when I kind of look at that film, there's a struggle with addiction and creativity and identity within your character, right? It's obviously supposed to
Yeah.
be Burroughs, but Bill Lee, I'm curious, did you play it off with those existential elements?
No, the book is seminal to me because I read the book in 1968. Um, I was 20.
Yeah,
Maybe I read it before then. And the book was considered at one point one of the more influential novels of the 20th century.
yeah,
And it is Gulliver's travels through the corruption of the soul, if you will.
yeah.
Nothing is true and everything is permitted. And Burroughs is writing about a decadence that's to come. Look, in that book, he predicts AIDS, he predicts liposuction, crack cocaine, on and on and on it goes. I mean, he says, people in Beverly Hills line up to have fat sucked out of the stuff. You're writing this in 1958, people are laughing. Oh, yeah, really? People are smoking, an indelible thing that even the middle class gets hooked on, such as they become murderers and thugs. There you go. There's like a disease that starts in the homosexual community, insinuates itself in the heterosexual community, and creates worldwide panic. All that stuff is a Naked Lunch. Now, that said, Naked Lunch is really about a series of vignettes about addiction.
Hmm.
So I jumped to this. I met Burroughs 6 months before the movie, and we sat down. We talked about addiction. I'm a recovering addict alcoholic for years. Burroughs is recovering on his own jam. And the first thing we talked about was the addiction to drugs, and then, of course, and what drugs. And then, of course, it shifted into the addiction of whatever you are using. My kid is in the car. This is only 3 weeks ago. He says, when you're rubbing out some substance on the anus of the typewriter, Dad. What drug is that? Is that cocaine? Is it fentanyl? Is it heroin? Is it whatever? I said, what do you think it is? Because William Burroughs and Cronenberg, Teddy, are subsuming, I didn't use that word, but I said, are collecting or cathecting or taking a whole lot of images there. What drug do you think that is? And he says, well, I think it represents, it's good for a 13-year-old man because I didn't get it. He says, I think it represents all addiction. Wow, I say to my 13-year-old kid, who sometimes I think is 13 going on 55. I said, you get that out of it? He says, yeah, isn't it just a symbol?
Hmm.
I said, yes, it is. That's what the movie is a symbol that one cannot, Cronenberg is using images from Naked Lunch, the thrust of Naked Lunch, the spine of Naked Lunch, and the story of William Burroughs to tell the story of the arc of writing that book and how one cannot escape oneself.
Hmm.
Now, a 13-year-old is kind of letting that simmer and smoke, but as I'm saying it to him, it's a funny thing, if one is aware, they say in Zen, the things you speak, you will learn again. So there I am. I'm not teaching him so much as I'm saying it. And I'm going, wow, 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 man. I'm still in that realm. I've still got like an addiction to something, man.
Yeah.
Something that covers up who I am. Some modus of being in a physical world that's lying about who I really am. That's the book and that's the film, man.
Yeah. That's amazing that your son picked up on that. I think that speaks to the strength of the film. Absolutely.
I think it speaks to Cronenberg for sure. I think
Yeah,
it speaks to his gift, man.
absolutely.
And if Canada is looking for an identity, I just came from Montreal and was into major conversations about making a movie in Montreal. And Montreal was in the secession mode from Canada a couple of times. And
Yeah.
one time it was like lethal.
Yeah.
And I get why, that Anglican Canada is not French Canada. Understand it, but at the same time, I find it impossible. I find it, but so I was just in Montreal 4 days ago having this discussion about Canadian identity. And as an American, I want to just say I did not vote for Trump and I do not want Canada. You know, I wanted to wear a t-shirt around as a Copenhagen 3 weeks ago. I wanted to say I did not vote for Trump and I did not want Greenland.
Right.
So, I mean, Canada's got its own specific jam. And I love Canada. I love Canadians. And Montreal is Peter Lenkoff's home.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
his dad, who was a dear dude, Abe, who passed away recently.
yeah.
We talk about Montreal all the time, man. So,
It's great. Well, I'd
yeah.
be remiss if I didn't talk about what I consider to be the greatest Batman story of all time. This is going to be my last question because The Dark Knight Returns, one of the greatest Batman stories, that film adaptation, one of the greatest Batman movies, period. And what I love about the fact that you obviously study, Roman antiquities and Roman history is you look at that film and that story that specifically you have the relationship of Superman and Batman that mirrors Romulus and Remus. And I know in an interview
I
earlier,
never put it that way. I never thought about it like that,
really,
man.
well, see, that's such okay. Well, then you've kind of answered my question, but it's so interesting because I saw an interview that said you didn't go in with any kind of really preconceived notions of the character, but did you even get a chance to kind of reflect on that afterwards? So that kind of angry pragmatism that Batman, shows. Is that something now you can appreciate about the character, I guess?
Basically, the thing that I was looking at was the history of Batman,
Right.
the literary history of Batman with Finger and Cane, and then this third guy that came in, Gardner Fox.
Okay. Okay.
You ever heard of that guy?
No.
Gardner Fox invented the guy later on, Flash, but he's a guy that helped out all kinds of people. I think Jack Kirby and Lee and all those dudes, man. They started. It was a guy. He didn't. You don't know him because he didn't need the money.
Right.
But he's the cat that went to DC Comics and said, "Okay, you got two things missing here. One is you ought to do a storyboard, the story first before you draw. You have a manuscript of the story before you draw the cells. And the second thing is you're missing a super villain. Now, can you tell me who the first super villain of Batman was? No, most people can't.
No. No. The very first? No.
Yeah, Dr. Death.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, that's in 39. We're talking about 38, 39 when the comics come out.
Right.
So that's what I was inured to. I wasn't looking at it. I got to go back and look at this thing, man, with this Romulus and Remus thing, man. This is fascinating.
Yeah. If anybody's going to appreciate it, it's you. Yeah. So
I'm going to appreciate it just because of you. Thanks,
well,
Mike. Thanks for that.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Peter. This was a great film. Best of luck in not stopping and not retiring. And anytime if you're in Canada and you want to, pop by the Durham Board of Education here in South Ontario, you're more than welcome to be a guest lecturer. We'll have you anytime.
Thank you very much. And if you want me to do a Zoom class on Hollywood, the Renaissance or the antiquity all the way to modern film, let me know. I'd be
I'd
happy
love
to
it.
do it for your class,
Absolutely.
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so
Okay, man.
much.
Peace.
Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.